you again. So essentially, you get somebody, you arrest people in Kansas, they're going to, move them down to, Louisiana, move them down to El Paso, and boom, you have an outbreak. Again, ICE people know how this works. It's not the dirty ICE facility. It's TB's TB. You were really careful a certain period of time, and that care maybe has slipped off at this point as far as personal safety. And again, you want to be, right? So there's people in ICE who know what to do. Increase that TB screening. It's going to slow things down a little bit, but we have to do it, right? Again, you could end up being sued too if you don't do it right. So again, that initial TB screening, got to bring that back. Make sure that's being done to each one of them. Again, you can probably do it very quickly. I'm not sure, what's available. I'd have to look online, but of course you all know what's available. I'm sure there's something just as quick as COVID. That you can, maybe not the same thing, maybe the same thing. Actually, let's look online. Let's see what we have. That's the first part. We got to bump up the screening. Right. And I mean, when you're going to put them in your vehicle, you have to put them in your vehicle. But I got a plan for that, so just hang on. And it's probably a plan that you think of, but we'll go through it here. TB quick test. The vaccines are in the preliminary or final stages, so they don't have supposedly the most aggressive forms of TB. There is a vaccine, right? But there's some newer, better vaccines within 24 hours. That's scary. So you're going to have to isolate. You have to have an isolation system. That's going to really muck things up, right? Let's see, TB quick test fastest. I was hoping there was something like 1 or 2 days, under 24 hours. Yeah, we don't have a quick test, it looks like. So we need to try to develop a quick test. You have to get Kennedy on that, Secretary Kennedy on that. We need quicker TB tests. Anyway. So you're going to have to develop an isolation system. You're going to have to. You're not to transport the immigrants in your vehicles like you're doing if you can avoid it. And again, that's going to require a surge of vans. You need smaller vans, not necessarily the bigger vans like you have with HEPA systems. I was around when they developed those first HEPA systems. Right? I may have actually been inside and not even realized it, but there's HEPA systems in those transportation vehicles, and generally I believe the cabin is separate from the isolated from the rest of the vehicle. Right. So you're going to have to surge those to LA, because LA is the riskiest location when it comes to how much time you have on scene without evacing or bugging out, I guess, per se, right? You're going to try. The key to those things is to detain as quick as you can, get them in a vehicle, and transport them out. Now you're throwing them in your vehicle. You're going to have to stop that. You're going to have to go back to the paddy wagon system. I mean, obviously, somewhere you might have to do it, but you're going to have to structure a system where you don't do it. Yeah. So. Now, it was here in Kansas. They know it was here. Wow, I'm out of tomatoes. What the hell? Boy, they got me off beat here. I'm out of tomatoes. How'd they do that? Block my mind. I'm out of tomatoes. We'll make a tomato sandwich. All right, so you have to surge HEPA, they call it HEPA equipped immigration ICE vans or Border Patrol. I mean, Border Patrol probably has some too, right? To LA. Because in the other scenarios, you have time. Like in Kansas, I think we maybe had one event where they were protesting an arrest or something. So in LA, this is a constant. So the only way to do it, and you've done it, I mean, you have those vans, but I don't know if those vans are HEPA. Some of them look like rentals or something. Okay. So you're going to have to get your HEPA-equipped vans out to LA as quick as possible. And you're going to need to get them into DC. There's probably more availability, maybe even in DC. There's probably a lot in and around DC. Right. So the agents need not put these people in their vehicles unless you know something like you're immune from it based upon something maybe the government developed. I don't know. It doesn't look like there's too much on the TB vaccine out there. Actually, I guess I could ask. And you have an obligation to the public, like the other detainees, you know. Right? Are ICE officers vaccinated against tuberculosis? No, we're not routinely vaccinating. BCG not routinely used in the U.S. Focus on screening and treatment. Excellent. There's a lower risk of infection. The vaccine's variable effectiveness against, and it's potentially cause false positive. Because there's some they're still testing some of the better vaccines. Are behind the 8 ball on that. So you're all going to have to be tested routinely. So you have to bring in your TB experts because they went through this before. I know that immigration went through it before. They may be retired. I don't know, or maybe they got fired, right? So you have to bring in your TB experts. You're going to have to change operations a little bit. Do not put the recommendation is to not put them in the vehicle that the officers are traveling in. You put the arrestee into a van that's equipped with a HEPA system. So you're gonna have to get them on scene. You're gonna have to surge TB or anti-TB. You have to surge HEPA equipped transportation vehicles to LA, because the other areas don't need it as much. I don't think, let me see in Kansas, how many, see if they had something creep up here. I think LA, maybe Portland also. I think New York's probably got them. You just got to use them. Locations where members of the public attacked ICE. Texas, San Antonio, Alvarado, California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland. That's just yeah. So you have to surge HEPA-equipped vans to locations. Well, everybody needs them. But those locations need an overage because you can't stay on scene necessarily. So the inclination is to throw them in your vehicle. So if you have the van with the HEPA system, you haven't searched them, so well, you can put the officer, because the HEPA system's in the back, right? So it cleans the air. I mean, you still don't want to be in that situation. You got masks on, so right. Question is, do you want different masks? Well, if you're again, so what are we looking at? So we have these what do they call the baklava? Not the baklava. I guess some of baklava, but the gator or whatever it is. So what you want to recommend to your officers is that every night when they go home, even they should bring. What I would do is I would bring multiple gators in a day. So when you're on a mission, you wear your gator, you arrest somebody. If you had exposure, you go to a bathroom, you clean your hands, or you have a decon kit and clean your hands, and then you carefully change your gator, and you put that in a plastic bag. Right? And then when you get home, you wash your gators. Or, like I had, when it first started, I think I ordered like 20 gators. So you have something like that. Right? And keep the gators in a plastic bag until you can put them in the wash. And then obviously throw the plastic bag away when you're done. Or unless you want to wash it and retain it, I'd throw it away. I'd buy like the Walmart Ziploc baggies. Real cheap, and you just throw them away. Right. So the gator will reduce the chance of infection. But what I would do is I would bring like, even if let's say you didn't have contact with anybody, I would still take 2 gators. I'd bring at least 2 gators. Like change it at noon or something like that. Like when you take a lunch break, you take the gator off, throw it in a plastic bag. Wash your hands first, and take your gator off, put it in a plastic bag. Eat your lunch, and then put your gator back on. Or you might want to bring additional. I don't know. It's up to you. Right. Well, I think, you might want to change out the gator after every exposure. I don't know how many people you're exposed to. Even like you're not arrested, you still might have exposure. Right. I'm not to be paranoid, just, somewhere find a happy medium of protection. But the key is to surge HEPA-equipped vans to your hot spots. And every arrest team has a paddy wagon traveling with it. So again, it's the paddy wagon. It's the police department paddy wagon system. But you wait around for the paddy wagon, you can't. So the paddy wagon has to travel with you. And then you got increased screening at your sites. So you have to isolate. I mean, you're throwing like 20 people in a room. A judge already ordered that you can't do that. Some of the order is not going to stand. Like what part of it? I can't remember what. It was something like really weird. Some of it, you don't have to do, but some of it, is common sense kind of deal, as far as a judge looks at it. Right? There's something he ordered. I forget. It was like too far. Right. But, I told you this was going to happen, especially, again, your agents aren't scrapping with the judges. Not to, they are. Right. Although some of your agents probably aren't that smart. I'm going to go post here. The van thing, we need to do that. Come on. Need it. But you're going to need more vans. And New York may have enough vans. LA might, I don't know. But, you can't, every time you go to arrest or do a raid or whatever it is, you're going to need a paddy wagon with you. Now, the problem is the public isn't protected. So what did you do with COVID? Did you put masks on everybody, right? You might have to go back to that. They'll probably sue you. Well, stay peaceful. Like if you're proactive and are already doing something, then it's a lot likely that they'll prevail with any type of restraining order or temporary injunction, whatever it is. Stay peaceful, praise God, and all that you do, praise God.